Hi, today is day 11. I'd like to read a scripture to you. Ephesians 3:20. It says, "Now to him who is able to do immeasurably more than all we could ask or imagine, according to his power that is at work within us." Now the first part of that scripture is amazing. It almost seems like one of those too good to be true scriptures. A couple weeks ago, no matter what grocery store or gas station or party store you drove by, there was a sign. On the outside of that sign was electric numbers that said 999, which was pretty impressive because those numbers represented the lottery. The lottery had gotten to over $1 billion. $1 billion with a B. It's amazing. And when I read the first part of that scripture, it says, more than I can ask or imagine. And in my head, I go, I can imagine that. Imagine all the good I could do with that. And if you've seen the car that I drive on Sundays to church, you realize I didn't win $1 billion. Why is that? Isn't the scripture true? Well, a lot of us hold on to the first part, but we fail to read the full second part, which is according to his power that is at work within us. And this chapter is going to talk about dealing with some of the issues that are in us so that his power can work through us. One of the main things that we need to ask God to help us work through is dealing with offenses. Matthew 5:23 and 24 basically says that if you're bringing your sacrifice or getting your sacrifice ready to set down at the altar and you remember that you've offended someone or someone has offended you, leave your sacrifice and go and make it right, which is a pretty powerful statement. That statement is saying that the community that we have, that the people that are in our lives, that the way they feel is more important, takes priority over the gifts that we give God, the sacrifice, which is praise, which is fasting, which is our time. It's saying that I want you to take priority and make your community right. Make those that you might have offended or have offended you go out and take action. And that's tough to deal with. That's a hard thing to do, is to go out and take action when someone's offended you. And God knew this, and he prepped you for that. There's a couple scriptures that will say that, Luke 17:1 says that it's impossible that no offense should come. So it's going to happen. John 16:33 says, he tells us in this world that in this world you will have trouble. And that is hard. We don't want to deal with trouble. And a lot of times in our life, I feel like when things are hard, we feel like we're doing them wrong. But we're not. Trouble is part of the process. Challenge is part of the process. This reminds me of a story. In my professional life, I teach at the fire academy. And one of the things that we do, it's one of the hardest evolutions we have, is we teach our cadets what happens when a firefighter falls through a hole in the floor and they're in the basement and they're unconscious and we have to rescue them. So we give them some tips, we give them some techniques, and then we put a firefighter down in the basement and we tell them, you got to get them out. And the challenge behind this is that, your average firefighter weighs maybe 200, 250 pounds. You put 50 pounds of gear on them, so this person could weigh 300 pounds. And they go down there, they grab a hold of them, and they start dragging them up the stairs. And they bring them up 4 stairs, and they fall down 3. They fall down. They start getting hot. They start getting sweaty. They get injured. They get tired. They get frustrated. They get all these emotions. And then when they finally get them upstairs, everybody rips their masks off and they're covered in sweat and they're exhausted. And they look to me and they say, what did I do wrong? Why was that so hard? And I always say it was so hard because it was worth it. There was somebody who was having a problem, having an issue that maybe you didn't cause. Maybe you weren't, you didn't do anything to actually offend them. Maybe they offended you. What God is asking us to do is to go to them. Put in the effort, do the hard work, do the hard things, and get that forgiveness. Ask for that offense to be taken away. And if we go back to the first scripture and talks about that how his power will be in correlation to the amount that we let him into our lives, once we get rid of offense in our lives, we allow God to move into our hearts. And when you allow God to move into your hearts, you let him increase his power in accordance to your imagination and more than you could ask. So when those things balance out, you can ask God for the most amazing world. You can ask God for blessings in your life because you've created a space for his power to do work in you. So I just ask you to go pray today. Search my heart, Lord. Help me find offense and let me go and take care of that so that I can have an open and clean heart for you.